Hi, I wanted to make a small video here talking about one of the aspects that you don't really hear a lot about. If you look at books or a lot of websites where they talk about aspects, you usually hear more of the popular aspects. I think we've all heard of trines and sextiles, oppositions, conjunctions, even some bigger patterns like grand trines or grand crosses. You don't really hear about yods. So, why is that? Well, one of the things I think about why is because, first of all, it's pretty rare. If you have a yod in your chart, that's usually going to flag something in the person reading your chart because it is so rare. It's now a new level of your journey here and your experience, and it kind of forms a new level of understanding of the whole picture of your chart. So you wouldn't just isolate yod as then the only important aspect, but it's definitely a pattern that is interesting. So there's many patterns in astrology aspects. We talk about grand trines or grand crosses. I think the yod is lesser known because it involves the quincunx aspect here, which is a more minor aspect anyway. It's 150 degrees away from the other planet in both cases here in the yod. We have the sextile at the base, and they're 60 degrees apart. And then we have this quincunx aspect here from two different sides forming this triangle. And I think since we don't really talk about that aspect a lot, maybe that's why we also, another point as to why the yod kind of doesn't come up a lot. But the sextile aspect, a lot of us already know that that's really a comfortable aspect. It's usually seen as favorable. It's ease, it's opportunity, and it's something that the planets, although they're not in the same sign, they usually are in an agreeable sign. So here in this example on this picture, we have Aries and we have Gemini. Although they're different, air and fire blend well together. They inspire each other, they excite each other, and they can get along enough to really get things done. So that would be favorable. So then the quincunx we see from Aries to Scorpio is not comfortable. Yes, they are both ruled by Mars, but they're fire and water. And either the water is offended or hurt by the fire, or it puts out the fire and the is smothering to the fire. Those are just some visual images how we relate these elements. There's no really catching on of the fire. The fire doesn't feel like it can roam free or grow. It's in danger to the water sometimes, and the water, will be evaporated or made to feel less sometimes. So they don't agree. They tend to always feel at odds with each other. Same thing with here, the water and the air. They they don't interact well to where they really can encourage the other one to do anything. They kind of keep to their own sides, and they don't nourish or support each other in any particular strengthening way. They're feeling versus thinking, big picture versus subjective opinion. They don't really help each other out. They usually go towards different ideas and feelings. So when they're all together in a yod, you would think, well, this might be a little bit of a challenge here. And in that case, you would be right. But what's special about a yod is that it's so rare, and it is a, a purpose of the soul coming into this life. And it's like this fated mission. And it's really interesting because a lot of the chart really suggests that, we have this free will and choice to express these signs and grow how we want to. We have our nodes that really show us what our soul would like to master and release. So it already seems like there's so much going on in the chart. And then you get this yod, and you hear people describe it as the fate of God, or the finger of God, or the finger of fate. There's many different ways to say it. I personally like to go with finger of God because it helps me imagine that I came into this world, because I believe that you pick your own chart. I had an agenda that I wanted to personally complete, but that there was this higher power that said, you could have this opportunity to take on this like special side mission if you're willing to do that. So I believe that Yod people are like, yeah, okay, I'm game. I'm going to do this. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be easy, but I need to accomplish this for some sort of reason. So I'm going to pull up another chart here, and I'm going to use a real chart example when I was asking people for input on what they would like to talk about. I got a couple of charts that had yods in it. So I wanted to share this one right here. I won't say the name for privacy reasons, but you see this yod here is a Saturn at the apex, a Neptune, and a Mars at the base. So in my interpretation of this, I would say this person has come in here, this life, decided that they will take on this extra mission of whatever the finger is pointing to. The finger of God is asking you to go here and do this. And it's going to be in a way that is unique to themselves. And we're going to use the strength of the base that they get along, that the two here, so Mars in Aquarius and Neptune in Sagittarius, this water, or excuse me, this air and this fire, they get along in ideas. They inspire each other. So if you think of someone with a Aquarius Mars, you're thinking of someone who really is taking action, who's ambitious in a way of intellectual change and innovations. They are here to see how we're doing things and then really try to progress the situation. Mars always wants to act and do things. And in Aquarius, it wants to do it in a way that the group as a whole is going to do it in a better, easier, softer, faster, more beneficial, something about it that can really progress it, to get the whole collective on a page that is separate than how they used to do it in the past. It's breaking the old ways and doing it in a new way. And this is agreeable to the Sagittarian Neptune energy of somebody who really likes to think about the bigger picture altogether. The questions of spirituality and high philosophies and loving connections to others. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, the compassionate dreamer who wants to know how they can better flow with the cycles of the universe and life and their fellow people. They really want to dive deep into humanity and feel all the range that we possibly could. And in Sagittarius, it's in this limitless way. It's aiming for the stars, it's wanting to leave all options open and really find this bigger truth about our ability to connect and flow and touch higher levels of being. So if you can hear in those two definitions, they do have similar motivations. They're looking for something bigger than themselves, and they're doing it through their ability to relate with others. And they're looking for something that maybe has never been done before. So that is the base of the yod in this example. And it's an agreeable, it takes the drive of the Mars and the passion of the Neptune and really is ready to get this mission going in the houses that they're even agreeable houses because the third house is traditionally an air ruled sign and the fifth house is traditionally a fire. So even here is this mutual agreement again of the elements of taking action, communicating, and inspiring others through these two elements. So I would say this person is really great at communicating with people, has a lot of great ideas, maybe a big imagination, has the intention of doing good and helping others, and really wants to see that no one gets left behind in stuck energy of low vibrations and doing things just because that's the way it was done before. This energy is wanting to be more than that, and it's going to help see it through. So now the apex here is in Saturn. So it's also in Cancer. So we're taking, and the house is in the 10th house. So now we're taking different approach here. The uncomfortableness here comes from this Earth house, this traditionally Earth planet, and then now a water sign. So how do we make that work? Well, it's uncomfortable. This person might feel like in matters of really their public reputation, their ability to really get themselves known for what it is that the mission is to carry out. They might feel this unsteady ground. They may have felt really like unique in life in general, and that maybe chaos surrounds their public reputation. The uncomfortableness or the chaotic surroundings is usually something that the native has to experience in order to even pay attention to this at all. So I believe that this chaos in the life or the just feeling maybe misunderstood or a little bit like things are just less in control in these areas, it helps really shake up the native to get their attention at all. Because really, when you have a quincunx aspect, the planets don't. It's not even like an opposition where they get each other's attention because they're so polarized, and there is still an attraction there. The axis is still familiar. They just have different ways of expressing it. This aspect can kind of be ignored. It can go on the back burner sometimes because they just, they're two ships in the night, not even noticing each other. But here, when it forms the yod, you do get the double sides going to the same point. So it does get the natives' attention. And it's like, wake up, we needed you to do this mission. So, for example, in this one, the Saturn is this sometimes restrictive, more mature energy, and it doesn't speak really well with the Neptune that can be very ungrounded and a lot more spiritual in nature, and the Mars who can be very headstrong and impulsive and want it now. So the Saturn here is at the point, it's the apex, it is the finger of God part. It's the fate of keeping us on this mission of doing things differently, of getting some type of message across. If it's in the 10th house, it's really touching on the public at large and the name we're making for ourselves. What we're doing, sometimes it is lucrative with our career, sometimes it's just a public reputation of ourselves. It's asking us to shake that up. Maybe in your family, they've always been teachers, and maybe you're here to not do that. Maybe they've always been something that they all went to college for this amount of time and they all graduated and worked here, or they all towed the line of the family business, and that's what they're known for in this town. Well, maybe this 10th house Saturn apex person is also going to put in the dedicated effort and really take the time to be something thorough, but maybe it's completely different, or maybe the calling is more holistic, more metaphysical. Maybe it's not something that everybody's going to look at as this really respectable career choice or name, or maybe it's just because it's different at all, it's not going to be what the authority in this person's life um, really approves of, right? Because Saturn can sometimes be the authority. But really, here's the gift in it is that you're on a mission. You're being asked to shake things up in this department. Does your ancestral lineage need a different reputation? Is this your chance to end whatever wasn't working before, or the thought that it had to just be this way? And are you here to, in this Cancerian energy, this softer energy, here to support others and in a less self authoritative way and more in this unconditional supportive way? And I think here where we're seeing the quincunx it is ultimately here to help us. So all that unsteady ground or chaos, or everywhere you go in your public life, things get shaken up, or you kind of feel all over the place. You're given the opportunity here to use Saturn to help your actual gifts that you already have. So I think this is a beautiful example. So this person with the Sagittarius Neptune, which is sometimes can have really ungrounded ideas and feelings, and it can be very abstract. Well, here the Saturn cardinal Cancer energy is saying, well, those are great ideas. Let's put them in goals. Let's see what we have, what steps we need to take to actually bring this down to earth. Let's make this actually tangible business, or whatever the calling is to do. I say business because it's in the career house, but it could just be something that you have to show for these great internal ideas and this great ability to love and inspire and connect people. And then we'll see the fifth house, Mars, where it can be very assertive and almost aggressive when it really is going towards something, in this Aquarian energy that can be a little aloof. But now we have this softer Cancer energy to say, if we pause, Saturn's all about pausing, and we kind of calm down the impulsivity here and sometimes the disconnect of emotion, then we can find this really soft energy that helps share this message of what we're trying to do. And we can come off a little bit more relatable to other people and let them know that I am a safe space, and what I'm trying to do in this world is also a safe space. It is different, and it is ultimately going to raise the collective conscious here, because that's what Aquarius does. But I want you to know that it's not going to harm anyone. It's going to softly support you. And in this yod, that's what I feel like this is the message of this person's chart. They are shaking up the family reputation or what they've always done in the past. Or, if you go back further through the cycles of life, how this person may have always represented themselves, how maybe they always chose a different path, or they didn't put the time and effort into what they needed to be publicly known for. It's a gentle push towards the public spotlight here in a way that's going to take a while, but that is worth the energy spent there. There's a fate here. There's something that this public message needs to get out and be shared with others. The other chart that I had to share, I'll pull up. It was also given to me by somebody in the group or the page, so I appreciate that. Let's see if I can make it a little bigger here. That's about as good as it's going to get here. But you see, this person has multiple yods. And when you're really looking at the technicalities of a yod, it should be a pretty tight orb. So it shouldn't be greater than 3 degrees, seems to be the general consensus here. If you want to be really particular, some astrologers don't even think that a slow moving planet can be on the apex. I don't believe that, because I think that from what I've seen and relating to other people that have the yods with the slower moving on the top, that it still resonates to them, and they still have this feeling of when they're on the right track, that it is very purposeful and destined even. And when they're not on the right track and they're ignoring those things, that life gets very chaotic in that area of life. So I don't personally agree that it has to be a slow one, but I do believe the tighter the orb, the more it makes sense. And that the base is actually a real sextile is important to me, because the base needs to be in agreement here. And then they both need to be in an uncomfortable position to the apex. For my experience, that's what seems to matter the most. So yeah, so when you're feeling that the area of life, this person sits in their 11th house apex, and you can see the three overlapping themes here. So this person's really being nudged into this life of connecting in some types of group or organizations, groups of friendships or like-minded people, really thinking about what are their dreams here in life? What is it that they wanted to accomplish? And then have the fruits of the labor, all those things of the 11th house is, that I did the work and I got the rewards. And now what does that look like? What do my dreams accomplished section of my life really look like? What does my friendship groups look like? How about the places I go and I say I'm a member of? Is that happening in my life? That needs to be happening in my life. When it's not happening, life can be chaotic in this areas. Um, it can feel a little bit like unsure, or that maybe I'm misunderstood by these groups. When I feel like I'm listening to the apex, I'm on the right track, I feel the sense of destiny and purposefulness. So those are how we know we're doing this yod correctly. So for this one, this Saturn here is 10 degrees, the Jupiter's 12 degrees, and the sun is 14. So I'm gonna say that's a little too wide, but I will say the Venus is 11 degrees. So that yod right there is a Gemini apex of Venus. So we really are looking towards identifying with groups and peoples that brings us joy, harmony, a sense of serenity, maybe a variety of groups. Maybe we're communicating constantly, we're sharing our ideas, we're sharing our thoughts. It's a little bit uncomfortable with a more reserved energy and a slower, more intentional energy of this Scorpio Saturn that, even with the the fourth house involved, wanting to be more private, maybe feeling more comfortable being this homebody, somebody who is the authority in their own home, but doesn't really naturally go out into the world and ready to share all of their ideas and thoughts, who really would rather keep it to themselves. Gemini and the Scorpio have different ways of doing things. Gemini can be seen communicating to lots of people, wanting to learn and observe and always be the student and trying new things, where Scorpio doesn't always want to do that. I want to go deeper into the experiences I'm already having, the people I already know. I want to go inward. I want to see them fully. I don't want, it's the quality over quantity struggle in this aspect here, where the 10 degrees, the 12 degrees Jupiter here in Capricorn is kind of agreeing, like, yeah, my sixth house, I want to be useful to those partnerships that I already have. I want to spend time doing things that are skilled and intentional here in Capricorn. I want to spend the time that it takes to do it really well. I'm not trying to just go out and be not 100% thorough or seen as the master of my skill, just to talk and hang out with people. I have work to do. Let me go back and do my work. That's where I'm comfortable. But the finger of God or fate would say, no, like you took this mission to go here, to go to these groups of people, get your message in the public. This is the public side of our chart here. Don't keep all of that to yourself. You need a group, you need a soundboard, you need to get on your soapbox sometimes. You need to be part of these groups with what you have so deeply inside of you. It needs to be shared out to these groups, and it needs to give you in return this sense of value and self-worth. And if you believe that it's to shake up ancestral lines, it would say that because maybe they've always been too private, kept to themselves. Maybe they haven't given people really a chance to get into them and relate with them and really feel connected to their communities. And all of these other people that are accessible that could support you and make you have an easier journey. Has it been your family's motto to, toughen up and just get through it? Don't reach out for help. Don't try to connect with others. The old like pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality. I could see that here, but you're here to say no, actually, it's a strength to go out and get to know other people. It takes courage and strength and humility to want to connect with other people and get that support and be part of something that is going to benefit all of us by being in this together. We don't have to do this alone. I don't want to do that alone anymore. So I'm going to reach out, and I'm going to maybe sometimes not be the expert on anything, but that's okay because I always want to learn anyway. And that's where I really find a lot of joy. And with the son involved, it's part of the identity search too. You feel learning to identify with something other people outside of yourself is really going to make you feel like you're learning who you are. And maybe what has always been wasn't fulfilling enough for you. Maybe you will pass on the line then that friendships are valuable. Maybe we didn't know that before, but they are. And you're here to teach other people that and shake that up for everybody. Okay, well, I think those examples are enough for now for the point. If you have any questions or you have some comments, let me know. This is a fun topic, so I am open to having a more in-depth conversation if anybody would like that. Okay, thanks so much.